Hi, I'm Brett Peterson. At the end of this video, you'll have 22 business ideas you can start here in the week of August 1st, 2020. These should inspire you and help you pick an idea of your own so you can start a business. If you want to become your own boss, if you want to kind of break free of the 9 to 5, here are 22 options for you. Let's get started. ArcherySupplies.com. For this one, sell archery supplies. Truly, this is a branding play. Digital location. ArcherySupplies.com is a great digital website, right? It's a great location on the internet. So when people search to buy bows and arrows and the protective gear that covers your arms for being an archer, or for doing archery, archery supplies is something they're going to search. So this is a great website to position yourself to capture some of those customers. Your customers are archery enthusiasts and people just getting into archery, people who don't already have a favorite store. So beginners in archery. ArcherySupplies.com. Number 2, BackcountrySurvival.com. This is survival training, specifically targeting the backcountry skiing and hiking type of survival, but survival. So how to live off of the land in a forest, how to hunt without modern equipment and modern weapons, how to make your own bow and arrow, how to kill an animal, how to set a trap, how to make a trap, how to create shelter in the woods or on a mountaintop. Your target customer are city people who are worried about everything going to pot. With all the civil unrest here leading up to the week of this week, August 1st, there's a lot of people who are more interested in being able to just disappear into the woods than there have been before. Target that niche. BackcountrySurvival.com. This is hairstyling services for funeral parlors. So funeral parlors, when someone dies and they're prepared for the funeral, especially if it's an open casket funeral, their hair is done. However, the skill set needed to be a mortician to prepare bodies for burial is very different than the skill set to be an esthetician or a hairstylist, right? So if you're a hairstylist and you want to have a specific niche, try working with funeral parlors to make sure that people look their best for their funerals. Retirement areas are going to have a high density of funeral homes, frankly, more people who are aging and dying. And so if you live in Florida or other retirement-heavy areas, among other retirement communities, this could be a really good niche for you. Once again, this is barbereverafter.com. Number 4, boomercaring.com. On a similar vein, there's a generation, the baby boomers, that are now in their 70s or 60s. That generation is going to be entering retirement homes in the next 10 years, over the course of the next 10 years. Some are already moving into retirement homes. Some are already not able to take care of themselves. Unfortunately, the word boomer has a negative connotation now. So you're not actually selling to people who are signing up for retirement homes themselves. You're selling to their children and grandchildren who are signing up for them, who might refer to their parents and grandparents as baby boomers, right? So this is retirement home and end-of-life care facilities for baby boomers. One thing with boomercaring.com is that you don't have to start a very large facility at first. There are some retirement facilities that have 4 beds managed by a staff of 2 or 3, right? This can be a quite small business that then you can grow as you have more interest, more capacity, more operating capital, more money, right? You can expand it from there. You can start pretty small on this one. Boomercaring.com. Number 5, cloudworkshops.com. Your customers are tech workers, especially young tech workers, who want to get their AWS certifications or their Microsoft Azure certifications or their Google certifications. So cloudworkshops.com is a chance for you to offer tech training workshops to software engineers who want to learn how to write code for cloud services like Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud or Amazon Web Services. Wait, Brett, I'm not a developer. No worries. The training actually usually comes from Google or Amazon or Microsoft. They have whole training programs and training sets. You can get certified yourself and then get certified to train other people, or you can just advertise, get tech people together, and then work with affiliates to bring the trainer to your workshop, right? You can do these workshops online. It is an internet-based service, right? So you can find a trainer anywhere, hire them, and then you take a percentage cut of all the people you've been able to bring in. So even if you're not a tech person, even if you're not a software developer, you can still host and organize these cloud workshops so that other tech people can get their cloud certifications. So cloudworkshops.com. Number 6, DevilDogTactical.com. We talked earlier about backcountry survival. In a similar vein, a lot of people with everything that's happened in 2020 have become new gun owners. All of those people need firearm training, right? If you have a gun, it doesn't mean you know how to use a gun. If you are a gun enthusiast or you have firearm training, now is a great time to start selling training to new gun owners. You can do basic gun training, gun safety courses, how to reload and fire a firearm, how to help people improve their aim and accuracy, and improve their reload speed, right? If you want to get a little bit more exciting and cater to a little bit more experienced gun owning crowd, you can teach 3-gun classes. 3-gun is a type of shooting competition where you shoot pistol and rifle and shotgun, I believe. But there's a whole spectrum of firearms training that's probably in high demand now with new gun owners through DevilDogTactical.com. Number 7, DroidBounty.com. Similarly, when everybody's worried, one thing people are worried about are swarms of drones, either launched by the government, or launched by a foreign government, or launched by the police, or launched by terrorists, or whatever, right? So the problem is that shooting down drones is actually a little bit tricky. Unless you have a shotgun, they're kind of hard to hit. They're small and they're pretty agile, they move around a lot, they're flying, and if there's lots of them, you probably don't have the ammunition to shoot them down. So there are specific systems that take out the electronics in drones. If you can find ways to help people be able to take out drones, even one drone at a time, you can play on this fear of Big Brother coming and hitting you with 100 drones that you can't take care of. So DroidBounty.com is a place where you can sell tools, weapons, firearms, home defense systems that will let people counteract drones or swarms of drones. DroidBounty.com.
Stop.
Number 8, GloryBands.com. As part of this lockdown everybody's been in, exercise equipment has become very, very difficult to source. You can't even find kettlebells or dumbbells or barbells or any kind of exercise equipment for the home, online or in stores. They're pretty much all sold out, or they were last time I checked. One thing that you could make and sell are the exercise bands. Now, before you chuckle, anybody who actually exercises out there, yes, I know they have a stigma about not being as hard to use as actual free weights, right? You don't get as good a workout. So if you can find a way to market bands that you can produce now in the middle of the pandemic and afterwards to people who couldn't get a hold of free weights, I think you have a potential niche there. So you're looking for people who want to start exercising because they can't go to the gym, but can't find free weights. After this is all over and free weights become available for sale again, the marketing strategy, the customer base might shift a little bit to people who have small apartments. Exercise equipment takes up a lot of space. Even just free weights, even barbells and dumbbells, to have a selection of weight requires a lot of room, and they're very inconvenient. Bands fold up, they're very lightweight, and you can still get great exercise with them. GloryBands.com. Number 9, GraduateLink.com. Graduate students do a lot of research, and often their professors steal all the credit for that research. It is a consistent problem, especially for women and minorities. But it happens to all grad students of any race, sex, color, whatever. Right? One reason for this power imbalance is that the professor who's guiding the research is already a credible person in their field. And so it becomes he said, she said. The professor says, it's my research. The graduate student says, I came up with that. People trust the professor. One way you can counteract this is by setting up a network for graduate students to work with each other. So there's external people verifying who did the research, who came up with the theses, who actually did the work, and therefore who gets the credit. You don't want to treat this one like Facebook, right? You're not going to get enough people to drive money through advertising, so don't go down that route. What I would suggest is a small, very low-cost subscription-based service, probably $1 to $3 a month per person, per graduate student. Make tools to let them compile their notes, share their notes together, kind of compile the status of their research, what their hypothesis is, what their tests are, what the results of those tests are. Assign pieces to be written among their research teams, but let graduate students work with each other across universities. The graduate students can say, no, it wasn't your work. Here are the 7 of us who did it for real, and here's all the evidence that supports that. Here's every step by step the work that was done, by whom and when. GraduateLink.com. 10. JourneyPlantTravels.com. Your target customers here are people who are interested in plants. So these can be plant photographers, these can be botanists, these can be plant enthusiasts. These can be people just who think plants are wonderful, gardeners, right? People who love orchids, for example, people who love exotic plants. Take tours to locations specifically to see native flora, right? Native plants instead of native animals. One big advantage of this over other kinds of wildlife tours is that plants don't usually move. And so it's a lot easier to find a site that has good plants and you can come back to again and again and again, right? It's a lot harder to find, a tiger den that you can reliably go to every year or every couple of months. You could find a valley where a particular type of rare orchid grows. You can bring tours there again and again so people can see it in its native habitat. JourneyPlantTours.com. Number 11, LearnYourLines.com. Your target customers here are actors and anybody who has to memorize lines. Anybody who works in television, film, theater, public speakers, anybody who has to memorize things to be spoken. Clearly, I need this service myself as I just stopped. LearnYourLines.com can be a service where you help people go through their lines. You can use what's called a spaced repetition system, where you help people review the lines at one point, review what they need to memorize once, and then space out how often you repeat that until they've memorized it fully, right? It's shown to be quite effective in terms of psychology and neuroscience. So it's a pretty good pedagogical tool. It's not hard to program. You can hire a programming team to build something like this for you if you want to do this. One thing I would recommend in here, though, is let people scan their own lines in. You don't want to fight the whole legal battle of getting licenses to host people's documents. But if you can let people submit their own documents or scan in their own documents, then you're not as liable, right? You're just a platform, you're not a publisher. One thing I would suggest with this, look at the companies like Nuance or some other companies like it. Nuance makes the Dragon Naturally Speaking software, but they have software components you can license that will read a scanned document and will also speak the scanned document. So one thing that you can offer as a service that I haven't seen in my very cursory glance was something where you scan in people's lines and have the computer read the other person's lines. So if you're an actor, for example, in a stage show, my lines might be, "Hello, Deborah, how are you today?" This would be a terrible show. And Deborah might say, "Well, hello, Brett, I'm doing fine, and you?" Right? Have the computer read Deborah's part better than I just did. It lets the actor get more into hear the lines coming back to them, memorize the cues as well as just the words, right? So there's some tools you can build into here to make it easier to learn lines for people who act and for people who do public speaking. LearnYourLines.com. Number 12, LiveToLaunch.com. So this one is a marketing launch company. There's a ton of stuff that has to happen right before you launch, and then 2 or 3 months before you launch, right as you launch, the day of your product going live, and the days after you go live. Anybody who's doing a Kickstarter campaign or a crowdfunding campaign, they really need this work because the more people pledge, the more those sites publish and promote their work, right? If you're interested in marketing, specialize in that niche and help new product development teams handle all of that complexity. Because there's so many moving pieces around a launch, small teams often get overwhelmed when they're trying to do this, right? They have to make sure their product is working and finish up the last minute stuff of development. Be the outsourced marketing arm that handles all that stuff around launching. LiveToLaunch.com. Number 13, NextLevelCricketAcademy.com. So cricket is a sport that was originally popular in the UK, and has since become very, very popular in South Asia. So India, Pakistan, some places in the South Pacific, so Australia, New Zealand as well, a little bit less, but especially in India and Pakistan. Bangladesh. There's been a lot of people who have moved out of India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh to other parts of the world. And so not a lot of places for parents, South Asian parents, to have their children learn cricket. I mean, you can play cricket in the backyard with a bat and kind of like many Americans play catch, right? You can do that. So digital or in person, doesn't matter, either way works. but you're targeting South Asian families that love cricket and want their children to pick up that part of their heritage. NextLevelCricketAcademy.com. Number 14, OpticalCreations.com. Make and sell art kaleidoscopes. If you like kaleidoscopes, there's a group called the Brewster Society. So a man named Brewster is a person who invented the kaleidoscope, and so the society is named after him. And there are a couple of hundred people in the Brewster Society who make really high-end kaleidoscope artwork, right? They make kaleidoscopes as like art objects you display in your home, almost like you buy a painting. The problem is if you're looking to buy an art kaleidoscope, it's not easy. You have to go, last time I tried to purchase a nice kaleidoscope, I had to go to the Brewster Society website, which I had to know about just because I'm a kaleidoscope enthusiast, go find the different artists, go to each of their individual websites, see if I liked what they were doing, see if they had anything for sale. It was very difficult and time-consuming. Be the reseller of kaleidoscopes for all these artists. These artists are artists. They want to create their artwork in kaleidoscopes, in metal and glass and cool mirrors and all of that. They may not be as interested in running an e-commerce shop. That's your opportunity, right? So your target customers are buyers of fine kaleidoscopes and creators of fine kaleidoscopes. You create a marketplace for that specific art niche. OpticalCreations.com. Number 15, PlantandSoil.com. As part of this pandemic, there are a lot of people who decided to start a garden for the first time. Part of this was because they were worried about food not being available at stores. Part of this was because they were home and bored. Part of this was because whatever other reason, right? I was one of these people. Many of these people, like myself, were completely clueless about gardening. One of my garden plots is completely erupted in weeds and plants. Maybe I'll get some potatoes out of it, I don't know. The rest of them have withered and died. Or are dying slowly. I kind of feel bad about it. So it turns out there's a lot more to growing plants than just sticking little half-grown plants into buckets. So if you're good at growing plants, you can offer a service for clueless gardeners. Get a pH tester, StarkBrothers.com, link in the description, has these for sale if you want to use one. I think they're about $40. Get a pH tester, come and test people's soil. See what nutrients are there and what nutrients are missing. See what the acidity of the soil is, if it's right for the plants they're planting. Help people figure out what the soil needs to be for their plants, and then sell them the fertilizer and sell them the consulting, essentially, small-scale consulting services for clueless gardeners, right? So advertise to gardeners like, did you start a pandemic garden? Are your plants dying? We can help, right? Plantandsoil.com. Number 16, rustysigns.com. So in decor and home decorating, there's a style that I am calling kind of cowboy Americana, right? There's weathered metal and kind of weathered wood, and it's distressed, but it's still, kind of ranch and farm stuff, right? Often metal's a little bit rusted. You can be a metal fabrication shop that makes signs out of metal, and then you can artificially rust them and age them, weather them, so that they have that distressed look that people are sometimes looking for, right? Sandblasting to get the pitting effect. You can do this with a couple pieces of equipment. First, you need a plasma cutter. A plasma cutter is a device that has it's like my pen here, but instead of having ink come out the bottom, it has a spout of fire, essentially flame, that then moves around on a machine that cuts out the shapes you're looking for. So you can cut words and letters and things. You can make signs of that pretty easily. That gets you your metal shape. And those run, I think the least expensive one I've seen is about $3,000. And then from there, you take a sandblaster, which is something that just blows bits of sand at something. Usually it's used to clean off something, but it also can be used to distress a metal surface, right? You can get little pits and scarring and scoring on there, and then leave it out in water. Spray water on it, and let it sit for a while. Rust develops, if you're using an iron product, right? Rust will develop on the thing. You have this you can create that distressed look. Startup costs are probably $3,500, depending on what you pay for the plasma cutter and the sandblaster. And your customers are people who are into that cowboy Americana look. rustysigns.com. 17, selectafurniture.com. Before a house is sold, when you see those nice pictures of a house on Zillow, or if you go through a house tour when you're trying to buy a new house, and there's like this beautiful furniture, and the house is all really well decorated, and it's super clean, and everything matches, and clearly nobody lives there, right? That's because a staging company has brought in new furniture and done really nice home design after the owners have moved out. real estate companies and home sellers hire what are called staging companies to bring in that furniture. And they essentially rent the furniture from a staging company. The staging company brings it in, puts it in there for 2 or 3 months until the house gets sold, and then goes and takes it back and uses it on the next house again, right? And then as the furniture gets damaged or worn out or out of style, then that staging company sells off the furniture and buys new, more stylish stuff. So if you have any interest in interior decoration or in real estate, and you want to get into that part of the market without getting your real estate license, without doing full-time house sales, look at starting a staging company. Selectafurniture.com. Number 18, soireevictoria.com. This is a tricky word. Soiree, S-O-I-R-E-E, is an old word for a party. And the Victorian era is the time when people wore what we now think of as steampunk clothing, right? So corsets and fancy dresses and three-piece suits for men and top hats. 1830s, 1890s, that era in England, sometimes the United States as well, is set in this era. So what you can do is help people have dinner parties and themed events set in this era. So if you want to do an online version of this, you can sell pre-made murder mystery packets or dinner event packets where everybody in the party gets a different character they're supposed to play, and then you have a light script that unfolds throughout the course of the night, and somebody's the murderer, or someone who participated in a scandal, oh no, or whatever, right? Tell a story. You can sell this to just people at home. You can sell this to corporate groups who want to have team building events. If you want to take it a step further and or work on places in a town, you can actually rent out the dresses and the costumes. You can be the caterer for the events. Soireevictoria.com. Number 19, trapbunny.com. No, we're not going to kill rabbits here. Trap is also a type of shooting sport where little clay discs are shot out of a launcher away from you, and you take a shotgun and shoot the disc as it flies away from you. And the longer you wait, the harder it is to hit the disc. If you hit the disc, it blows up. It's very satisfying. So use a shotgun, unless you're extremely good. With all the new gun owners, like we talked about before, many of those are women and teenagers. Start a shooting range or a gun training course, but especially a shooting range that caters to people who don't normally go to gun ranges, right? First-time people, beginners. It also is a way for people who want to learn how to protect themselves with a gun to be able to learn how to do that. Trapbunny.com. Number 20, unchina.com. Normally I don't like to have dashed websites here, but on this one I think it's actually worth it. There are a lot of manufacturers in China. Traditionally, for the past 50 years, China has positioned itself as the world's factory. If you want to build something inexpensively, effectively, you go to China. Often China is still very competitive, sometimes it's not. And so there might be companies now that are looking to get out of China, or at least set up manufacturing so China's not their only manufacturing site, right? They need a backup place to work. Those are your target customers. Customers who have done manufacturing in China and now, for whatever reason, need to move back into the United States or need to move into other inexpensive markets. Mexico, all of Latin America, so all of South America, India, Bangladesh, we spoke about earlier, Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, many places in Africa, actually. All of Eastern Europe. Any of these options are, if you have international connections and you can speak a language or two, an extra language or two, you could make a pretty decent business about helping them move their manufacturing facilities and their businesses out of China into somewhere else. And if you don't have that international experience, this business would be a great opportunity to get some of that international experience. If you want to get international business, help people move from China into your home country, and then use that as leverage to start expanding other places too. This is probably a consulting firm type of play. Unchina.com. 21. VioletDart.com. Your target customers here are college students. 18 to 30-year-olds, essentially, is your target demographic here. Create a really interesting dart and billiard parlor. So I'm suggesting a very specific aesthetic. You can choose your own, but use like violet, again for the name, Violet Dart. Use violet and electric blue fluorescent lights, right? So very cyberpunk kind of aesthetic. Lean into that aesthetic, right? A lot of bars and restaurants and places kind of tone things down because they don't want to be too out there. But for that niche, between the ages of say 18 and 30, like I said, that area, having something that's really quirky often can be really appealing. You're trying to become a destination hangout place. If you make it the popular hangout for let's say, if you're in a college town, let's say for the Asian Student Union or for the engineering majors, violetdart.com. And last but not least, number 22, yurtabilitykindergarten.com. So let's start with a yurt. What a yurt is. A yurt is a hut you can rent out, right? You often find these in state parks and backcountry woods areas. Your target customers here are parents of young children, right? Parents and young families who want to go camping, who want their kids to be exposed to nature, but don't know quite how to do that, right? So you provide the parent and child experiences that are hard for parents to come up with on their own. So let me give an example. Take parents and children on a short hike that goes through lots of areas for very young children to experience different parts of nature. Pine needles, stone, dirt, tree roots that poke up and through that the kids can see and play with and experience. I'm talking for pine cones, where kids can see pine cones and experience those. Little maple leaves that have fallen down. These don't have to be super fancy things, but it's a sensory and natural experience, and you have just very light educational materials that go with it, where you can help the kids and the parents experience nature together. That kind of sensory tour, like I was talking about for very young children. You have books and kits and things for a little bit older children, 18 months to 6 years old, roughly. But you can sell experiences and tools to help young children and parents of young children develop a love of nature. yurtabilitykindergarten.com. Thanks for watching with us today. If you've made it all the way here to the end of the video, comment below about what idea you think is best. And if any of these ideas are bad, let us know. If any of these are great, amazing, let us know. If you start one of these, let us know, and we'll feature you in another video. We can set up an interview or something. We'll love to have you come on the show. All of these domain names are up for auction right now on namejet.com. Link in the description. Their auctions end 9 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Friday, July 31st. So if you're interested in any of these, make sure you put your bids in for the domain names before that point. Comment below. As always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified about these videos in time to go look at those domain names. Otherwise, good luck starting your own business. We'll see you next time. Thanks. And then when potential buyers come in and look at the house, they say, oh, wow, this is really nice. If I buy this house, my house, it'll look just as nice for me too. It won't. But anyway, that's the service you provide.